I stepped away from it for a while, where I'd only get it from time to time, and then I when I traveled, I was in New York or Chicago. There was such a culture behind it, and I was like, it was just another thing that like my eyes were opened, where I was like, I love this. Like when I saw bartending for the first time, I like they were slapping in, shaking, double shaking. And I was like, oh, I like that. I don't like that other shit. I like that. So, yeah, that's super interesting. Let's see. There's a lot of parallels between cafes and bars.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things you talked about that kind of drew you in was I'm kind of putting words in your mouth, but I feel like you said it, was the community aspect of cafes. I think that I always saw a deep respect for cafes, because I felt like it was kind of like the yin to yang with bars. Like, you go out drink the night before, and you go out, you get a coffee in the morning, and get a sandwich. It's like there's a lot of other things that cafes do, but it's like an essential, which is why I guess it was an essential business during the pandemic. But I think that there's a lot of parallels, and while it's different types of service, I think it's pretty cool. Can you speak to that? I mean, I know I just said a lot of words, but can you speak to that and like maybe agree?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts about having a cafe. And I mean, I'm here a lot, but I don't feel I'm almost 4 years into it, and I still don't feel fatigued. Spending when you spend a lot of time in one space, sometimes I think you can get kind of fatigued or bored. And you're kind of craving a different environment. I rarely, if ever, have felt that. And really it's because, I mean, you and I even connected here in this space in a big way when you were living in downtown and you were, opening a bar down the street. And I have that.
I hear a lot.
I have a similar connection with so many people that I've formed relationships with. It's almost like the watering hole. I get to see a lot of the same faces every day or every other day or every week, and it's really special, man. I think about it all the time. I mean, a cafe really is it's like a bar, but during the day, and we come together around a different kind of beverage, but it's a beverage nonetheless, and
I think that the difference between drinking. I love tea, and I want to tell you about this dude JoJo's Tea that I think I mentioned him before too, but I'll talk to him about it in a second. You gotta come down and go to his tea ceremony with me.
You said it was JoJo's Tea?
That's his name of his company. But we'll talk about that after. But I think that I have a little theory that when you're drinking something, you're eating something, when it's formidable, if it's spicy, you have to think about it before you take a bite. If it's caffeine, if it's caffeinated, you have to think about it before you drink it. And same thing with alcohol, because there's going to be a direct and it's not severe, but a noticeable effect to your your person, to your mind and your body when you take a sip of it. So that's why people come to places like coffee shops and bars, because it's a watering hole. But why is it the watering hole? It's a watering hole because it loosens inhibitions, because coffee promotes creativity and keeps you focused to a degree, right?
Sure.
There's those elements that are very boring and figured out. But I mean, I'm going to romanticize it a little bit because I like it so much. But I think that, drinking this, we're not just going to chug it. Because this is not just sparkling water where you're like, oh my God, this is so good, and you're chugging it. You have to sip it. You have to respect this a little bit. And because, just like with coffee, man, you drink too many fucking shots of espresso.
You get zooted.
Yeah,
man.
you can't talk. You can't. You have to go to the bathroom 3 times, and then you can't think, and you're like,
We're legal drug dealers.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a drug that's allowed, and we're allowed to sell it.
Right, and it's also for the most part fairly manageable for people, especially caffeine. But caffeine's probably more prevalent than alcohol is as far as people using it all the time.
Yeah, sure.
But alcohol is a little bit more dangerous. Definitely more dangerous in the end.
Sure.
But I think that there's something to that though. When you're sitting down, it's like when you have that respect for that drink, and when you're thinking about it and thinking about all your actions when you're sitting there, you're coming there for a purpose to get some kind of energy. That plays into how you respect the space.
Sure.
Because juice bars aren't the same thing. People don't hang out at juice bars for long periods of time. You get them on laptops,
Sure.
right? So I definitely think there's something about the beverage.
Yeah, I think so too. And I really designed the space to be very open, and to also harbor that community that you're talking about. So around this beverage, coffee and tea, but sometimes, you know, that's not even enough to just have that. You really have to create a space that makes people feel like they have space to be here, to spend time in here, and to want to come back.
That's cool.
That was you know, that was a huge motivating energy, I guess, behind why we chose this location, the way that we designed it. Just very open. You know, even the bar that we're sitting at right now is connected to the espresso bar, and that was really
Right, the hub.
really us saying, like, we want to connect. We don't want to just be the people behind the counter that make your drink and then you go about your day, but we welcome the relationship connections that will naturally happen in our space. So that was always a big thing. On top of just obviously wanting to have, you know, amazing coffee and serve that, we also wanted to have, like, you know, a space that people feel connected to.
Well, clearly people do. You know, obviously this is how I came in here, and I was very receptive of the space. But how does that make you feel in two ways? That you wanted that, and people also received it correctly. Like, you're like, okay, I hope that they get this, and I hope that people understand it even subconsciously. So I'm sure it feels good and it's reassuring. But does it also make you feel more confident about other projects that you want to do? That if you really think about it, that you can do something that people will pick up?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we had the windows, when we were still doing our build out. I'm sure you remember this. The windows, like most places, you know, are completely blocked off. It said, you know, coming soon, Deeply Coffee, and I remember feeling like, because this was my first project like this, that I would essentially be putting on display for the whole community to come in and experience. You know, this was like my work of art here, and I felt the insecurity of, like, I've never done this before. I have no idea how people are going to interpret this and receive this.
Especially like the first year or so of a business being open, people don't. Some people that get it are there, and you forget about them, or you don't think about them, and then there's so many critics.
Yeah.
And then they go away eventually because they either fuck off or they realize they were wrong, right? And they go, maybe they like to craft a comment and they stay there and they stop complaining.
Yeah.
But like that first year of any business opening, man, it's always, you get a lot of critique.
I had to, you know, really process a lot in my head, and we did have that. We had so many people that came in here and they just received it and they got it, and they loved it.
For sure.
But I remember getting like a few reviews even online.
People complain about the cappuccino size or what, like the silly
size
thing.
of the drink, or, you know, even some people,
the menu you couldn't read or something.
Some people had the audacity, man, to say, you know, because obviously you could, you know, we're sitting in our space, and the design it's not unique in a lot of places, but this kind of design for Orlando is not seen a lot. Like Scandinavian, minimalistic. So some people didn't get it, and there was a couple of reviews where someone said that it felt empty in there.
I think I remember one day someone complained about the table in the middle. Like was like, hey, you know, can you guys get like some pillows or something else for the table? I remember I was sitting there and I was like, I don't even know if it was to you. I think it was to like Ariel or somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe. I mean, it's kind of like the way it's supposed to be though. And they're like, really? Or was this place unfinished or something like that? They just did not get it.
I can't tell you how many people look at the wall behind the espresso bar, and they've made so many suggestions as to what they see going there. And
like a menu or a picture or some shit.
An art piece. We had muralists. I mean, I can't tell you how many muralists have reached out to me and said that they would love to fill that empty space behind the espresso bar. And
they don't get it.
You know, like those Pinterest signs where it could say deeply in the light, like written in light bulbs. So many people have said that they can see that there. And I say so many people, it feels that way to me. But I mean, we're talking probably less than 5 people. But to me, especially in the first year,
right.
Those comments definitely stand out more than all of the positive ones, and I had to really deal with that, and even realize like that I'm not going to be able to please everyone.
Yeah.
And I just had a gut feeling that the best thing that I can do is be who I am, serve coffee the way that, that I feel passionate to serve it, and stick with the design and the space that I had in my vision. And I'm so glad that I did. It's like a Chicago-style pizza shop trying to, also serve like New York-style pizza, and then they slowly lose themselves. They're no longer this specialty Chicago, deep dish style pizza. It's like you're just another pizza shop just trying to, please everyone. And in doing that, you lose yourself, and ultimately that's not what people are looking for. I mean,
Right.
we're the same way. I want to go into a place and I want to know what it is that you do.
Right.
I don't want to have to, ask too many questions. I just want to come in and be like, this is what they do here. And